His name is Reggie. He was about kicking, taking names, and making games.
And now his body is ready to walk off into a Nintendo Red sunset.
Hot take. After 15 years with Nintendo and 13 years as the president of Nintendo of America and COO, Reggie Fils-Aimé is finally going to be retiring from his position at Nintendo.
Yeah, now the first time I heard about Reggie Fils-Aimé was when I first saw him at an E3 conference. Back when I first saw this E3 conference, it was one of the times when I guess you could watch it online, but it would take a very long time to download.
Yeah.
So there was these groups, I think it was Next Gen Media or whatever, they were actually selling E3 conferences on DVD. So I had one of those and I got to watch him. I was like, who's this guy? Oh, look at all the games. And I was so impressed and excited. And that was my first introduction to this guy.
Yeah, I think that was E3 2004. And that was the one where he showed off the DS as well.
Yeah.
Which we were talking about earlier. Like, man, we still want that sort of racing stripe DS. So yeah, Reggie Fils-Aimé has been with the company for quite a while now. And he ushered in, like, for me, I was out of gaming for like the couple of years before Reggie took over, and I remember like when he became a thing, and he ushered in the Wii, the DS before the Wii, the DS and the Wii. Like that was me getting back into gaming. So to hear him retiring, there's a little bit of sadness there, quite a bit of sadness there.
I get that, yeah,
because I got the rose tinted glasses for that sort of era in gaming.
Honestly, for me, it's a weird thing. So I was originally a Nintendo kid, like many people out there, but I also had a Sega Genesis. Around the time the Super Nintendo came out, I'd always go to friends' houses to buy this or to play the Super Nintendo and play games on there. I never actually got to play the Super Nintendo in my house because the Sega Genesis was just significantly cheaper at the time. So that happened. Around the time that the Nintendo 64 was introduced, it was also very expensive. So there's this gap there where I'm playing Nintendo games always at other people's houses or renting the consoles so I could play the games on the systems but never owning them. But around the time Reggie Fils-Aimé was into the company, that's when I started to get into the GameCube, the DS, and I really started to go back into Nintendo products a lot more in that time. So although I have a lot of experience with all those systems, Reggie Fils-Aimé for me is like kind of the beacon where people started coming back and paying a lot of close attention to Nintendo. Yeah. And that, like, he came in just around the time when things were looking really bad for the GameCube.
Right. Yeah. It's a very solid place in Nintendo history where the former president of Nintendo of America, Tatsumi Kimishima, had moved on to another position, and Reggie Fils-Aimé had taken over, and it felt like a very large shift. So we did get the products that we had talked about earlier, like he was there during part of the GameCube era, the DS, and then the Wii. But then Nintendo kind of switched. It seemed like they switched the way that they were kind of marketing things and advertising things. And Reggie Fils-Aimé had worked in marketing for a super duper long time. He worked with like Pizza Hut, Guinness. He like so many companies. He was with VH1 for a short period of time. But yeah, it seemed like when he was more of a prominent figure in the company, things got more goofy and lovable, almost overnight. Like the memes, we didn't know there were memes back then, but they began. Of course, people remember things like, my body is ready. Yeah. And we remember his fantastic acting during the Nintendo Directs, which was like the cheesiest thing ever, but you loved it, and you loved him for it, right?
Yeah, even with like bad news that would come out from Nintendo, you still believed what he was saying and still trusted what he was saying, and that's something that's very kind of important for a person at the top level of a company to have. Now, whether you understand it or not, what he has done for Nintendo in North America is very important to the role of the company growing and expanding and attracting the consumers that it did. Now, I don't know the entire history of everything he was involved with the other companies that he worked at.
Yes.
But I do believe around the time he was working at Pizza Hut, a couple of important things happened to Pizza Hut, like cheese stuffed crust. That stuff.
I actually wrote them down in my notes. Yeah, he launched the Bigfoot pizza. Do you remember the Bigfoot pizza? It was just a big pizza. But it was advertised very specifically with like a little Bigfoot animation coming on. I had to watch commercials.
I do remember that. Yeah. Look. The thing is, marketing pizzas, marketing beer, marketing VH1, anyone that would watch that. There are a lot of people out there that may not think about those products as products and just about things that are just existing. But when it comes to Nintendo, the way that you got products to exist outside of Japan was to get a company head that could understand what consumers wanted. And that's really what they got with him, because he worked in marketing prior to actually getting that role as head of Nintendo in North America.
That's right. So Reggie Fils-Aimé is going to be stepping down, like we said, on April 15th. And another person is going to be... Why are you smiling?
This is the best. Okay, look, folks, I'm sorry. Yeah. If you were to get one person to lead the company that had a name, the last name...
It's the current... This person, I'm not saying his name yet, joined in 2015. He's the current head of sales and marketing for Nintendo.
And when I heard his name back then, Shane, I was still smiling.
Do you want to do the honors?
Doug Bowser is now going to be the the president of North America.
President and COO of Nintendo of America.
I can't, that is so perfect. Yeah. We've heard a lot of great things about this guy ever since he came on board. A lot of cool things have happened at Nintendo as well. But this has got to be the dream job with a last name like that. I mean, it's like his last name was Mario, you know what I mean? Like or Luigi. Yeah. This is perfect. This is exactly where you want to be.
We're joking that the next person that takes over has to be Mario to take over Bowser. But anyway, it's yet to be seen. He's not the character that's out there all the time. Doug Bowser, of course, has been around at different showcases for Nintendo products and whatnot, but, Reggie Fils-Aimé was always very much the face. And I'm going to miss so much him interacting with, rest in peace, Iwata. He passed away in 2015, but he also did things with Shigeru Miyamoto. I always remember, the puppet. He turned into a puppet.
I remember that.
And he was counting his push-ups. Nintendo 63, Nintendo 64 before the conference. There was so many huge smile moments when I think about him sort of interacting with the Nintendo fans and stuff. And I'm wondering if Doug Bowser is going to be able to step up to the plate and have that same sort of enthusiasm and just grandness.
So I have very specific feelings about people that can be the heads of companies. And I know this is going to sound crazy, and maybe some of you may not agree. I believe that somebody that leads a company has to be charismatic, has to be willing to be okay with their image being kind of fun and funny in some instances, because they need to be able to speak on stage and not just talk to fans of a company, right? That's okay. You can talk to a fan in a bunch of different ways. All you have to do for fans is just say, hey, this is happening. Isn't that cool? And fans will go, yeah. But you also need these exact same people to be able to give comfort to investors and other business partners to make them feel like there's a vision and a plan in place. So Doug Bowser not only, he's got big shoes to fill with this thing, but he also needs to be able to be charismatic in those things. I hope we see Doug Bowser in the Nintendo Directs.
Oh, absolutely.
I think it'd be important.
Yeah, more so, I can't think of any other president of a major publisher or not even within gaming, a president that's so well balanced, both of those things that you were talking about. Yes, Reggie Fils-Aimé always talked about how he was such a fan of the games, and he went out of his way to prove that. He put on a character for the fans and stuff, but behind the scenes, he ran business very well. He could juggle both things. So I guess we have to...
I'm going to say one thing. Most people don't even know the story because I've actually spoken to people that have worked at Nintendo in the past. And I'm not going to mention who it is, but this is a very cool story because I know people went even in. He had so Reggie Fils-Aimé had a story at the very end of his, he did a little video on Twitter, and at the very end he was saying, I'm a gamer too. And I think a lot of people that hear that go, yeah, sure. I know for a fact that while working at Nintendo of America, he was constantly playing his 3DS, and this one employee that he worked with, he was always talking about this one game, exchanging battle plans and stuff like that. I think it was Fire Emblem is the one he was playing.
Okay.
So this happens, okay? This is a real thing that happens. He actually was a gamer. And I think that makes sense to why he was so good at his position and good at his job. And I'm really hoping we get that same experience with Doug Bowser.
Yeah.
To make Nintendo work, you have to understand the products. And it's something so specific that you need to be able to actually play those games to understand
You have to understand the products and the community as well that loves those products. Yeah, absolutely. So it's going to be a transitional period for a little while there. A lot of things have been kind of moving around for Nintendo in the past little bit. The Switch is doing quite well. Let's hope that whatever Doug Bowser has in mind is cool and...
Let's be fair. North America and Nintendo is important. But a lot of the bigger design elements, those choices that get made for the hardware, a lot of that happens in Japan. What's important for North America, in Nintendo of North America, is localization.
Messaging. Messaging's huge.
Different kinds of games, different kinds of products, making sure that they can take a transitional approach to ideas and making sure the world understands it. That's why Nintendo of America is so fundamentally important to Nintendo's entire vision as a game company. For me, what's so interesting about this is knowing that Reggie Fils-Aimé was only there for about 15 years and managed to have the impact that he had, right? I would like to see more visual impressions of these heads of these companies that have that. And Nintendo of America has other people like that too. Reggie Fils-Aimé was not the only one.
Oh yeah, there's Bill.
Yeah.
I forget his last name. He's he's in almost every direct
of course.
Translating. Again, great actor.
Yes.
He ate all the donuts one time, if you remember.
It's important to have this. Look, a lot of companies out there exist that are making video games all over the place, and some of them have these like impressive people that step forward and are kind of the face of the company. Microsoft has Major Nelson, right? And Sony, well, Sony keeps switching around so quick. I don't know who's on the hot seat now.
See, that's the thing. When it comes to like Reggie Fils-Aimé, the official Nintendo video was released today of him stepping down and saying goodbye. I can't think of any other sort of head of a company that people would have like the sort of connection with that person where a message can... I don't even know that people would go out of the way to make that message for the fans. Like Reggie Fils-Aimé had to, in a sense, because the connection was so firm there. So it's not strange to me that you would, maybe be like, oh, well, with Sony, things are changing. Yeah, things change all the time with these companies, and it seems like no one cares except the people behind closed doors. But for a person like this to matter across the board, that's a pretty big deal, and it speaks to his legacy at that company, I think.
How many people in his position would make a heart-to-heart video to his fans, to his admirers, to people that care about the company? I don't think you see stuff like that very often. And other companies, like heads of companies that have stepped down, usually don't step down in such good works, like and having a good rapport with the company afterwards. They had nothing but good things to say about him. So all the best to Reggie Fils-Aimé for whatever he does next.
Yes.
And all the power to Doug Bowser, who's going to rule over us with an iron fist.
So let us know what your favorite Reggie moments were working with Nintendo, and let's have a look.
Yeah.